Hi everyone, welcome to another overhead filming video. Today I'm going to be doing an inventory of all of the makeup that I currently own. As I've started doing this on YouTube, I've realized that I've accumulated more makeup than I probably need. Well, definitely more makeup than I need, but also potentially more makeup than I want. And so the purpose of today is kind of twofold. First of all, to show you all what my whole entire makeup collection as of today looks like. And second of all, I'm hoping to identify categories of makeup where I feel like I have more than I want to own. That information will help me make some decisions down the road about decluttering or project pan items, and I think it'll also just give me a really healthy skepticism for purchasing more. I do want to say that I have a couple orders pending right now, so I know that I'm pre-filming this a bit. It's going to go up while I'm out of town, and so there's a good chance that by the time you actually watch this, I have added a couple items here or there to some of these categories. But overall, this is more or less what I've been working with, honestly, for the past like 3 months or so. So I feel like this is a good time for me to kind of take stock of what I have in the moment so that I can make better purchasing decisions or fewer purchasing decisions moving forward. So I'm going to start with primers, go all the way through in the order of how I usually apply things to my face, and then I will end with lips, and we will see how many total makeup items I currently own. Okay, so I decided to lump primers and setting sprays in together just because they're kind of like just utility categories for me. I don't get excited about either of these categories. They're just kind of things that I use when I feel I need them. So let me reorganize slightly. Okay, and also to address kind of the elephant in the room here, I do have a couple items that are on like standby for me. So like, for example, we'll get to it, but this Anastasia Beverly Hills eye primer, I haven't actually opened it. It's been sitting in a bucket, so you guys haven't ever seen this on my channel. It's just the thing I will use next once I've used up this Milani one. So I have things like that in multiple categories today. Just bear with me. If you see stuff in here that you haven't seen on my channel yet, it's coming. It's just the next thing I'm gonna open. So that being said, jumping in here, I have 3 setting sprays. 2 of them are the Urban Decay All Nighter. And once they're both like half full or less, I'll just combine them into one. I just bought a second one for my wedding because all my bridesmaids did their own makeup and I did my own makeup. And so like they had one bottle and I had one in my little personal kit. So basically, 2 setting sprays more or less. These just need to be combined. 2 eye primers, one of which is unopened. And then I have quite a few primers, which is interesting because it's not actually a category, like I said, that I'm usually super thrilled about. So right now I have 6 primers. This Milk Makeup Hydro Grip is in my project pan and you can see it's like almost gone. So I do think that one will be empty relatively soon. And then if I just organize these a little bit, this Catrice one, I like it, but it honestly functions essentially like a moisturizer for me. So I keep it in my makeup, but I think I'll keep it, just use it up, but it's not that exciting. These 2 from Becca, I'm actually glad to have now that Becca's going out of business. And I do like both of them. I like them both a lot for that glowy base. And then these 2, my Ordinary High Adherence Silicone Primer and my Angel Veil, those are also pretty similar in that they are like pore filling perfecting primers. But bottom line, I'm getting off topic here because I'm wanting to give you all of my thoughts on all of these, and that's not really what I'm doing. I'm just trying to count and decide if I think it's a reasonable amount. So I'm getting off track. So regrouping here, I have 11 items in the spray and primer category. And like I said, some of these are a little duplicative of each other, but I don't think this is an unreasonable amount. I actually think this is kind of just right for my type of makeup collection. So I'm gonna put them away and we'll move on to foundation. Okay, foundation. And also here's a tinted moisturizer. Same thing, right? Like base coverage products. I only have 5 products in this category right now, and I actually feel like there's a gap. I feel like there's something missing here. I have very full coverage in these 2. I have a good medium coverage, but in a very light shade with the ColourPop Pretty Fresh. And then I have a serum foundation that's nice light coverage and a tinted moisturizer that's nice light coverage. But I like medium coverage the best. I mean, like, that's my ideal. And it's ironic to me that I have kind of 2 light coverage and 2 full coverage options, but I only have 1 in the coverage level that I actually prefer most. And it's in a shade that really works the best for me in the winter. It doesn't work great in the summer. And so I do feel like I need 1 more good, solid medium coverage foundation that is a shade that is my summer shade, so that I can kind of mix and match with the ColourPop Pretty Fresh to really get a good medium coverage look all year round. So I have 5, my goal is probably 6, or at least it's not that it's 6, it's that I need something right here. All right, concealer is next. Okay, concealers and correctors. I have 6 items here, and 2 of them are color correctors. So this is a nice peach color corrector from LA Girl, and this is the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. So good on correctors for sure. Peach is really the only corrector color I ever use for the dark circles under my eyes. And then these concealers I actually feel really good about. When I look at these, I like all of them a lot. And I have a good range from like high coverage, like this e.l.f. concealer, down to very, very low coverage with this Kokie, and then a couple in the middle. So I actually feel really, really good about where my concealer collection is right now. And I haven't been able to say that for like years. So I'm very excited with what I have going on here. Moving on to powder. Okay, I only have 3 face powders, and as someone, oh, you know what? I actually have 4. I have a powder in this Cali Contour palette from Smashbox. So this is also a face powder technically. So I think we're gonna count it today just for all fairness. So as someone who does not powder my face very often because I have dry skin, I feel like this is too much, just point blank. I mean, this Physicians Formula powder is in my project pan, and I'm hoping to use it up before the end of the year, but there's still a lot of powder to go in there. And then this Maybelline Fit Me is still very, very full. This Bare Minerals Mineral Veil is honestly like almost brand new. And then this Smashbox Cali Contour palette, I've used this powder twice. So I have a lot of powder here for someone who does not enjoy powdering their face. So I am hopeful that I can finish up this Physicians Formula. And then honestly, this has made me consider the fact that maybe I don't need this Maybelline Fit Me. I hold on to this oftentimes because it's a really good affordable powder, but Maybelline is not cruelty free, and I just can't imagine myself ever using up 4 things of powder. And so maybe I will let this go. That will maybe be a judgment call to see how I feel after I finish the Physicians Formula, but I do think 4 is too many for me. Next up is bronzer. So I'm going to keep this Smashbox palette out because I have a bronzer in here. Okay, so here we are with bronzer. And as I just mentioned, this Cali Contour palette just got counted in the powders category because it does have a powder here. But there's also technically 2 bronzers in here, but I'm going to count this as like a bronzer. I get 1 bronzer vote for this. And that brings me to an interesting question, right? Because this Alma Beauty is actually a bronzer and a highlighter. This Cali Contour is a bronzer, blush, highlighter, and face powder. The e.l.f. has all 3 as well, and so does the Salt New York. So I don't want to count them each time in every category, because then I'll end up with a number of items at the end that is like way higher, like a total number that is way higher than the actual number of products I own. However, I do want to look at them when I'm looking at my whole collection of each category. So I'm going to basically talk through these each time they show up. But on my little piece of paper over here where I'm keeping track of totals, I am not going to count these every single time. I'll just count them once. So that means I have 9 bronzers, but I'm only counting 8 on my piece of paper because I already counted the Smashbox. Regardless, I still have 9 bronzers, right? I still do have 9 products that function as bronzers. And I'm gonna switch these over here just so that I have powders versus creams over here, powders over here. And that helps me a little bit because I do really, really love both formulas of bronzer, and I can basically see that it's more or less an even split, and that doesn't surprise me at all, and that actually feels completely fine to me. However, this is too much bronzer for any person to own. This is crazy. I mean, like, I will never, ever, ever go through all of these. There's even a smaller chance of me finishing these bronzers than there is of me finishing like those face powders that I was just so worried about having 4 of. So that's interesting to me. I really, really love bronzer. I love hunting down tones. I love how different shades of bronzer make my face look very, very different. Like this Balm Desert looks totally different on my skin than like the Alma Beauty Double Take. So I love bronzer a lot, but this has made it very clear to me that I need to pause on that and not buy anything else, because honestly, I've got a good range of formulas and shades and textures here. So I just don't see any reason for me to get one. Now, having said that, if there were a very nice shimmery cream bronzer on the market that intrigued me, that would be kind of the only category I'd consider, but I really don't need it. I don't need it. All right, let's do blush while I have a bunch of blushes out here anyway. Here we are with blush. So in this case, I have 11 blushes. However, 3 of these have been counted already in that bronzer category. So 8 more products. However, this is 2 blushes, this is 2 blushes, this is 2 blushes. So how do I count this? 14. I think I have 14. I think that's the actual answer here is 14 blushes minus these palettes, which are 5. So 9 additional products on top of what I had already. So this doesn't feel like too much blush for me, actually. Interestingly enough, I feel differently about blush than I do about bronzer. Bronzer, I'm like intrigued by the tones and the undertones and the formulas and stuff. But blush to me is like, it's hard to have too many in my eyes because they can be so dramatically different. I mean, like if you look at this, like Daniel Sandler watercolor, right, in Caress, and then you look at like a glowy, so this is a matte peach liquid blush. And then if you look at like Low Tide from the Balm, where it's like a powder, it's sparkly, and it's purple. Like these could not be more different, and they look so dramatically different on my face. And I really feel like blush complementing an eye look really pulls things together. And so I don't think this is an unreasonable amount of blush. I don't know that I feel super inspired to like add a lot to this right now. I think this is like pretty dang good as is for a bit. So I'll probably hold off on buying anything else for a while, but I feel fine with this quantity. Okay, same as before, we're gonna do highlighters now since we've got some of them out. Okay, highlighters are out. These 3 that have been out for a while each have a highlighter, and then this Alma Beauty has a highlighter as well. So these 4 I have already counted once. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 total, but only 5 additional new things to count. Okay, this feels like way too much highlighter. So just like with what I was saying with the bronzer and blush situation is like blush looks very different on the cheeks. Bronzer and highlighter to me are like, there are subtle differences in the intensity and the shades, but honestly, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, a highlighter is a highlighter for me. And as much as I want to pretend that each of these does something different for me, it just like does not. So yes, I think this is too many highlighters. I will absolutely not be buying more. I don't even want to buy more glowy blush because of this little experiment, because honestly, I can mix in some powder highlighter with a powder blush or mix in a cream highlighter with a cream blush. I don't need to buy glowy highlighter. And actually that brings me back to something I said in the bronzer section, which was if there were a good cream glowy bronzer, I would maybe buy it. But like, why would I not instead just mix this bronzer from my e.l.f. palette with the highlighter from my e.l.f. palette and make myself a glowy bronzer? So no, I do not need more bronzer, and no, I do not need more highlighter. Okay, let's do a fun one. Let's pull out all my eyeshadow palettes. Okay, miraculously, I think I got them all in frame. But I have 15 eyeshadow palettes. Now, this is not including single eyeshadows, etc., because that's going to be the next category over. So ignore that for now. 15 palettes specifically. I keep recounting because I thought I had one more than this. I thought I had one more since adding my Pat McGrath, but I guess not. I guess this is it. So here's what I'll say about this. I don't think 15 palettes is a totally unreasonable amount. I have quite a few of these that are small palettes, like these e.l.f. ones, the Aether Beauty, the Natasha Denona, and the Ofra. Those are all 5 or fewer pans. Oh, and these 2 Pat McGrath. So like this whole side basically, except for the ColourPop under here, those are small palettes that are really, really manageable to use and think about and like. Shoot, you guys. This Ofra palette has another blush, bronzer, and highlighter. So I'm gonna add one more tally to the total items when I do the 15 palettes, but I'm also just letting you know I missed these. I forgot that these were in here. Back to the palette situation. A lot of my palettes are very small, manageable. A lot of them are utilitarian too. Like this Going Coconuts palette honestly is just for like when I want a super simple, easy matte. It's not like it's that exciting to me, but I hold on to it because it is extremely useful. Just looking around, I am generally not that happy with this, honestly. I feel like these are all pretty good palettes. I feel good about the quality, but I am missing light colored, pastel sorts of shades, and it just feels really clear to me now that that's what I'm wanting in my collection. There are a couple palettes here too that I feel like are just a little bit dated, just not that exciting to me anymore, so I either need to fall back in love with some of these or get rid of them and replace them with things I'm going to truly, truly love. Like I said, next up is going to be like single eyeshadow products, so eyeliners, liquid shadows, single pans of shadow. Okay, single products. 21, I think is the count here. Let me do one more. Yeah, 21 items. So kind of kicking this off with the eyeshadow side of things, which is like everything here over. These all make me happy. I like every single one of these. And so although it feels like kind of a lot to me, and although I see some things in here that I probably don't need, like I probably don't need these 3 mattes from Sydney Grace. I have those shades somewhere else in my collection. I do really like this. I like this little curation. I like my minimal little like single eyeshadows over here. So this makes me happy. Going over to the eyeliner side, I feel like this is a little bit silly, only because I have 2 black liquid liners. I don't need to have 2 open at once, but I do. And then I have 2 brown pencil liners. Hopefully this one will be gone soon. It's in my project pan and I really think I'm close to the end. So like in theory, when I use up 2 of these items and I'm down to only 4 eyeliners, that feels about right to me. I'm just not really a big eyeliner person, so feels a little silly to have this many at once open, but it's fine. I'll use them up eventually. So I feel good about this. I don't feel a strong, deep desire to get rid of or add to any of this right now. So it'll probably just kind of hang out as is for the time being. And now we will take a look at mascaras. Okay, so again, here's a category where I have some things that are like on standby, like these 2 over here are on standby, not currently open for when I want them. So ignore those. Well, don't ignore them because I own them, so I'm counting them. So I have 6 mascaras, but only 4 of them are currently open. And this one is really, really, really near the end for Project Pan. So in theory, I'll have a slightly smaller collection soon enough. But this still feels like way too much mascara to me. You know, I do go through mascara pretty quickly, so hopefully this will be a smaller collection someday. But I also feel like I get free mascaras with orders like all the time. I don't know why that's a thing, but I do. And so somehow, like both of these were free with an order. And so like somehow I just keep accumulating more. So was the milk one. The milk was also free. So So it's just like a never-ending revolving door. I guess that's good. I don't ever really go out and purchase mascara with the exception of this Thrive one, but it does lead to some frustration for me just because mascara is one of those things that I will toss it when I feel that it's gone bad, and I don't like to waste things. So all of that to say, I know mascara sounds like a boring category, but to me it's actually one of the ones that causes me the most frustration. And I have 6 of them, and I know I actually have a couple more on the way that were free gifts with orders. So I have 6 right now. I will probably have 8 or 9 before I rotate anything else out, and that's just the way it's going to be with mascara for me. Okay, my last eye category before we move on to lips, which is kind of the last section here before brushes, which is the end. Eyebrows are pretty simple, straightforward to me. I currently have 5 items. I would like it to be 3. Ideally, I would have 1 brow pencil. Right now I have 2. Ideally, I'd have 1 tinted brow gel. Right now I have 2. And then I'd have 1 clear brow gel, and I have 1. So generally, I feel okay about this. You know, I accumulated a few because I was doing some comparison videos, but I've been working through them pretty quickly, using them up. Brows are something I never ever skip when I do my makeup, so I go through stuff relatively fast, and I think that I'll be down to kind of my ideal state of 3 sooner rather than later. For now, I have 5. It feels like too many, but it'll resolve itself. Okay, I decided to break up my lip products into 3 categories. I'm gonna do lip liner first, then I'm gonna do lipstick, then I'm gonna do lip gloss and lip oil. All right, I have 7 lip liners. I think this is okay. There's definitely some redundancy here. Like these 2 from Essence are honestly almost the same shade. I probably just need to like focus on one, use it up, and get it out of here. And then I also feel that I'm missing a couple things in my lip liner collection. I want something that's like more on the purpley scale. And I also want something that's like on the brighter scale for like orangey sorts of shades. I have a lot of like corally oranges that I don't ever know what to pair with them because I don't have a lip liner that really supports that color. So this is kind of a weird scenario where I actually think my number of lip liners is perfect, but I wish I could swap out a couple shades without adding more to my collection. So something for me to consider in the future is kind of how do I use up some of these, and then how do I thoughtfully, intentionally replace them with things that will be better for me long term. On to lipstick. Okay, here are my true lipsticks. I thought I was gonna feel extremely overwhelmed by the number of lipsticks that I had, like bullet lipsticks, but looking at this, I feel not that overwhelmed. Let me count. 16. That's not so bad, right? I don't feel like 16 lipsticks is that outrageous because I do think I have a good range. I mean, like I'm all the way from this like Fenty, like extremely bright coral shade and some other bright shades. I have like this Ofra one all the way into some like deep dark vampy stuff. I have like one of these shades from Kosas is like a really nice deep berry. I have some good like fall shades here, like this one of my favorites from e.l.f. Over here I have some of these like really awesome pinky nudes. Like this one from MAC. I wore this on my wedding day. I'll probably never get rid of it. And then I have these more like earthy toned shades from Propa Beauty too that I am super excited to wear this fall. So like all things considered, I don't think I've done too bad here. I thought I had way more than this, and I also thought I had way more things that like duped each other than I have. I really don't think too many of these are similar enough that I would need to justify getting rid of some of them. So surprisingly, I feel great. I feel really, really good. Okay, in this lip balm, lip oil, lip gloss hybrid category, I have 9 items here. Now this one, I thought I was gonna feel really comfortable with, and ironically, it's kind of turning out to be the opposite of the bullet lipstick situation or the opaque lipstick situation, in that I feel like this is all kind of duping itself and it's making me feel concerned. So let me just organize these real quick. Okay, so these over here are like warm nudes. These 2 are pinks. And these three are basically clear on my lips, with the last thing being this, which is actually also like a pink when it goes on. This is also essentially in this category. So basically I have 3 nudes, 3 pinks, and 3 clears. And so I see a lot more redundancy here than I saw in my lipstick formulas. A lot of these I gravitate obviously towards the same sorts of shades. Now that being said, this one and this one are hopefully going to be gone someday soon in my collection, which would condense this pretty significantly. I also think this Merit tinted lip oil is like different enough than these other nudes that it's not a big deal. And then that actually leaves me with 2 pinks that are pretty different, and then one that's just utilitarian. I mean, yeah, it's 9 things, but I guess it's fine. This is one of my favorite categories currently, and so I'm actually having a really hard time not wanting to go out and buy more of this, but this has been kind of like a good realization for me that I have enough for now. I should try to use some of this up before replacing a bunch of them. Okay, and then my last category here is going to be tools, in which I'm including fake eyelash stuff, brushes, sponges, etc. So let me grab everything I can think of that falls in that category. Okay, so here it all is. I'm gonna count all of these little individual things that I use when I'm doing my makeup that make a difference to me, that I couldn't easily get rid of without changing the way I like to do my makeup, if that makes sense. So let me count up my non-brush tools and then I will get to the brushes. So I'm counting like each of these as a pair. I don't know if I made that clear. 16 items here, 16. So I'm gonna write that down, move all of this clutter out of the way, and then we'll talk about the brushes. Oh boy, okay, we've got 10 alter ego brushes, 22 eyeshadow brushes. I can't even fit all of these face brushes in one hand to count them. Okay, 18 face brushes. Okay, you guys, that brought us to a total of 76 tools, and that's way too many. That's way too many. And this has taught me that I absolutely do not need more brushes. So, huge pause on that, that's for sure. 76 tools total, that's nuts. Okay, so after adding up all the tools plus all of the makeup categories, I have a whopping 203 items related to makeup. That is so much more than I would have guessed. I was trying to think in my head and I was guessing like 120 max. And I guess if you don't count the tools section, that was like relatively accurate. But I think I just dramatically underestimated the amount of brushes I had, like way underestimated the number. So after all of this, just to do a very, very quick recap, the only category that I discovered I was actively going to be looking for something in was the foundation category. There were a couple other categories in there where I said like, I'm happy with the number, but I'm not necessarily happy with like the configuration, right? Like eyeshadow palettes, I said, you know, I would love to have something more pastel in there, but I don't necessarily want more eyeshadows. Same with lip liner. I'd love to have like an orange-based lip liner, but I don't necessarily want more lip liner. And so I have those sorts of categories that they'll probably be on my radar, and if I see something I love, I might buy it. But foundation is the only category, the only one out of all of this that I actively was like, yep, that's not quite enough, and I want to purchase another. So that was a very interesting revelation for me. I hope you enjoyed this today. I definitely had fun filming this. I hope you've liked this kind of overhead filming lately. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything else you want to see in this sort of format or this style. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time.